What is going on, everybody? I hope all of you guys are doing well and happy Monday. So, today I'm going to be reviewing one of my favorite classics from the 80s. Now, if you grew up in the 90s or you grew up in the 80s, then you would have an appreciation when it comes to a lot of the films that came out in the 80s, especially when it comes to cult classics. Now, a great example I can use on this is Revenge of the Nerds. There are a lot of films that came out in the 80s that weren't necessarily your big blockbuster hits. These films were not your Nightmare on Elm Street films. These were not your, big hits that everybody had to go to the theaters to see. No, these are films that only had a limited run in theaters, but when was released on home video, would grow a huge and big cult following. So I decided to revisit some films, and one thing I love about the cult classics, films like Revenge of the Nerds, as an example, is that a lot of these movies would get sequels due to the popularity and would bring a lot of the original cast back. So, today I'm going to be reviewing one of my personal favorites, that being Porky's, a classic that I'm sure a lot of you have seen. And if you haven't, I would recommend you go to watch this. This was released in 1981. And the main star of this, you'll recognize from Ghostbusters 2. He plays Pee-wee. And basically, this is the American Pie before American Pie became what it is. And to be honest with you, you can see a lot of influences from American Pie that they got from this film. I truly believe that whoever wrote the script for that got its influence from this, and not only this, but Revenge of the Nerds as well. So Porky's takes place in the 50s, 1954, in Florida. I did some research, and it actually was filmed in Miami, which I wasn't even aware of because I used to live maybe an hour or so away from there back in the day, like 2000, 2001, 2002. I think from like 96 to 2003, at the beginning of 2003, I had lived, maybe an hour or so away from there. So I wasn't aware that it had been filmed in Florida. So, yeah, it takes place in Florida in the mid 50s. And, they're high school students that, they like to have fun and they basically want to get laid, which, kind of sounds familiar to American Pie. And they're always pranking each other and things like that. And there's not a whole lot when it comes to the plot. It's just mainly just them wanting to get laid, which makes me wonder, where have I heard that? Again, American Pie. So you kind of see the little, the little inspiration there. But Pee-wee's kind of the one that they always give a hard time. He always wants to give them a hard time, but they're like ahead of him when it comes to that. But it's really an enjoyable film. It's almost like they're just having fun, and they're not like filming a movie. It's just them being themselves, which I do like. And in a way, you can relate to these characters. Of course, they're dealing with their teacher. Miss Ballbreaker is what they call her. You've got Kim Cattrall in this, which is one of her earliest roles. There's an interview with her on Howard Stern years ago, and she talks about this film. There's just so many interesting things about this. But yeah, like I said, the plot is kind of similar to American Pie in a way. I've always liked a lot of the characters. A lot of the actors are still around. Unfortunately, there are a select, amount of actors and actresses in this who are no longer with us. But the sets I like. I like how at times it's believable that you are watching a film in the 50s in some way. So yeah, definitely one I would highly recommend for anybody who has not seen this movie to give it a watch. It's a fun, cheesy 80s sex comedy, which today probably wouldn't be able to be made. But nonetheless, I think you guys should give it a watch. So yeah, that's my review of Porky's. Let me know what your thoughts are on this movie if you've seen it, and if you enjoyed the review, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Film Talk with Mikey. Until next time, we'll talk films.